Welcome back. We have Teren joining us now. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty there, but we have since recovered. So this will be Teren joining us live. Kyle also here with us, and we're excited to have you back on, Teren. Um, got a lot of
Thanks.
things, a lot of questions we want to ask you, but again, thank you for taking the time to join us again.
I'm glad to be here. I enjoyed it the first time. Was looking forward to doing it again.
Yeah. So for those that aren't aware, I'm sure most people know you as the son of Todd Christensen, but obviously Teren is my childhood friend. We were super close before I left Alpine um, and moved away to North Platte, Nebraska. But Teren and his family were absolutely phenomenal to be around, and it was great to grow up with you. Uh, so we just got a couple questions for you right off the bat, and basically just for the people that are meeting you, or I guess hearing from you for the first time. Tell us about yourself growing up.
Well, I was born in Torrance, California, while my dad was on the Raiders. We lived in El Segundo, California, for the first 2-ish or 3 years of my life. Then we moved to Utah. We've been here 31 years or so. I'm 34 now. Um, Grew up. What all you want to know about me growing up?
Whatever you want to say.
Um, was a kid, I liked a lot of video games and art and uh, hanging out with my dad.
For sure.
And when I was about 12, um, yeah, right around the time I was 12, I started using a wheelchair because I was born with spina bifida, which is a neurological birth defect. And my dad got me into working out because he was big into working out. And I'm the youngest of four boys, and all of them played sports at various levels. And he got me into working out right around the same time I started using a wheelchair, kind of probably in um, as a way to help me to feel like I'm still athletic. And so that was pretty good. And I have been lifting consistently since then, for about 22-ish years or so. And it's a great pastime for me. Help me to feel uh, just feel strong and to uh, stay active, be able to move myself around. I prefer the manual wheelchairs.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably the thing that I remember the most about, especially back then. Obviously, we did a lot of swimming and things like that, but and played a lot of football with you. Obviously, you being the quarterback, you had quite the cannon there, and then I was the fast short guy. But definitely remember that weight room and how your dad was constantly pushing us to get in there and work out with him and took the time to show us how to do the lifts properly and all that. And obviously, he was a mountain of a man, so watching him
Yeah.
push those weights was pretty impressive. So
Yeah. Uh, I don't know if you saw that post on Twitter a few days ago of me as a baby looking at my dad.
yep,
and talking about how I'm pretty sure that I looked at him that way
Yeah,
my
that's
whole
awesome.
life. Uh, you just saying that he's a mountain of a man. I always saw him as huge.
Yep.
Um, Even when he got sick in 2013, he still, I mean, his body was um, struggling, but his persona still seemed enormous,
Yep.
which was cool.
Yeah. Well, obviously, when I was spending the most time around him, I was 9 to 11, something like that. Um, so I was obviously very short, and he was huge. But for sure, even when I came and saw you guys, I don't even remember when it was. It was after high school, so it was probably like 2010. Um, I stopped by and said hi and had lunch with your family and all that. And yeah, I mean, he definitely was as big as I remembered him, if not more so. And obviously, 2013 is when he started to get sick. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about what was happening and all that with him?
Um, there was some speculation, and so we're not entirely sure how it started. Um, but there was something about um, a misdiagnosed gallbladder surgery when he was still on the Raiders. They went misdiagnosed for about 3 months or so. Um, and it turned out that it was his liver. And he developed a disease called primary sclerosing cholangitis, which is pretty complicated. And I don't really know how to describe it. Um, a simplistic way of describing it, I think, would be that it's like cirrhosis, but he wasn't a drinker. It just was uh, deteriorating. Um, I don't know, but uh, he had that off and on for like 20 years or so. And then it finally just get caught up with him and became a little too intense in 2013. And there was a bit of cancer that developed in addition to it. And so that kind of just uh, messed with his body.
Yeah.
He actually was going to get a transplant, and that's where he ultimately died, was during the operation to get a transplant. I think his body he had just lost too much weight and couldn't handle the trauma.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I didn't know how sick he was. I had some indication just from following you on social media and all that. Um, but yeah, that was a complete shock to me when obviously it's not every day you see the death of one of your childhood friends' fathers on ESPN. But that's ultimately how I found out about it. Is the, just
Yeah,
one of
that
those things on the ticker.
that would be real on the ticker. Even is it's just like that's not that cool. Um, but I guess he was, aside from Raider Nation, which I love. I'm grateful for. I mean, since he passed away, there have been so many people in Raider Nation who have connected with me and befriended me. But I guess aside from him, or aside from Raider Nation, he was somewhat obscure still.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So he
one of
gets.
the best tight ends ever, and obviously he was a very successful sportscaster afterwards as well. Did various things. We've talked about it on the past podcast that we did with you on. But he was American Warrior,
American Gladiators.
American Gladiator. Yep, I was going to say that didn't sound right. American Gladiator. He did the AFL games. He did a lot of college football games and things like that for ESPN. So obviously he was a colleague, and that's why it went across the ticker, as well as his professional career
Yeah.
in the NFL. But yeah,
And
no,
if any of you, and if any of your viewers have seen American Underdog, he's in that for like 4 seconds.
yes,
Oh yeah.
I was going to ask you of what you thought about that, because that was really cool for me.
I just
obviously.
watched this. I just watched that movie for the first time the other day after Bill told me it was a good movie, and as soon as I saw your dad, I had to text him. I was like, "That is, it was amazing. It made
Yep.
my day."
Yeah.
Well, and Teren, you tipped us off to that you had been notified that he was going to be in it. So how cool was that?
It was very cool. I mean, I like Zachary Levi and I like Kurt Warner, but I gotta say that was my favorite part of the show, and it was like 3.5 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't remember him calling those AFL games, but I remember watching them like way back when
He did
on
it.
your random, what was it, Saturday nights or something like that.
Yeah. I don't even remember. He did it for like 1 or 2 seasons.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like he did it for very long, but somehow he made history and got to be,
I loved it.
in a championship game with Kurt Warner.
Yep. So that was super cool to see him in that. But obviously, we'll move away from the somber note there and tell us about yourself. I know last time you were on, you told us you were currently working as a social worker, but I believe you said you've been progressing in your studies there. So what's going on with that? And then we'll talk further with the side gig possibly.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a bit. But for my career, I am a social worker. I got my degree, my master's degree in social work in 2012. And since 2014, I've been working at the Utah State Hospital, which is a psychiatric hospital. And I currently primarily run groups, which I do therapy groups like cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, and that type of thing. And every once in a while, I get to have some individual stuff, which I am, I feel like I'm well suited for that. Talking to people one on one. I have grown as a group leader in the last several years, but I still enjoy doing the one on one stuff because that feels more tailored to the person, the individual, than the groups, which are very manualized, which means that I teach from a book the same concepts to everybody, but with individual, I get to focus on one person at a time and what they need, which I like.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And with that, is that a pretty rewarding job? Because I feel like it definitely suits your personality, knowing you. But how rewarding is that job for you?
I find it very rewarding. I Some background on that. Because I started using a wheelchair when I was 12, I felt the need to look for something that I could do to help other people from a chair. Like people like doctors or construction workers and stuff like that. They're on their feet all the time and lifting things and like driving around. And I'm not as proficient with that as other people. I mean, I can drive, but I feel like I've always been pretty good with talking to people. And if I can help through just talking to people, that is pretty rewarding for me. Yeah. And
So
sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. I mean, my dad was part of that decision as well, and he was a psychology major in college. And I always enjoy telling people this because it's fun. I said being a counselor was his plan B, but since he was like 9 years old, there never was a plan B
yeah,
other than
Yeah.
his plan A of football. So that's kind of like a backup thing.
and with him being, a football star, what was it just natural for him to go into the booth? Was that something he saw himself doing after his playing career, or was it just something that naturally happened because he's so eloquent and great at talking?
Um, Probably somewhat of both. I don't know. I don't remember ever asking him if that was his plan to have done that, but so many former athletes go into broadcasting
Yeah,
that it almost seems like that
Yeah.
was his thing. And the thing that you said about him being eloquent, he he got like guff for that with people sometimes. Like he's like super intelligent jock, and
Yeah.
that's
It's very
kind of a weird
articulate.
combination for people. But it did serve him well in the broadcast booth. Although I did read some message boards, which I thought was pretty funny about him using too big of words for people to understand.
yeah. He did get pretty deep in the woods there occasionally with words he was pulling out, and people were probably like, "What does that even mean?" But
Yeah.
no, I always enjoyed listening to him, especially when he was on the mountain and calling the Mountain West Conference games. I just loved it, and I would stay up listening to him, especially when he was on those late night San Diego State or
Oh yeah.
UNLV games that kick off at 10 o'clock.
Yeah. It's
I'd be up watching him, and
I
those were the
I
ones he always went on too. So
I gotta say I like that you mentioned the mountain because that was such an obscure station.
it was.
But uh, James Bates was my dad's or my personal favorite uh, partner of my dad's. James Bates is hilarious,
Oh yeah.
Yep.
and he actually brought a lot of stuff out of my dad. And my dad often like would you know keep to himself and stuff, but James was very energetic and got him to do some funny things. Like one of the weirdest commercials I've ever seen was James Bates talking about how he has to carry the broadcast, and he had a baby in the freaking uh I don't know what those things are called, the chest pocket thing.
Yeah. I think
And
they're just called baby carriers, but
yeah, but they superimposed my dad's head on it. It was the weirdest commercial ever.
Oh, I love it.
Except for it was great because he they it was like a clip of my dad using like 4-syllable words, and but as a baby, and James Bates being like, "Yeah, you said pomposity, didn't you?"
you,
Oh, I
you need
love
to
it.
find that
Yeah,
and send it to me because I need to
we need
see
to
that.
share that.
Okay.
But getting back to you, so you're doing the social work, and you said you're coming up for licensing soon, right?
Yeah. Um, I need 4,000 hours, 4,000 practical hours to get a full license. Right now, I'm a certified social worker, and And once I get 4,000, I'll be a licensed clinical social worker, so an LCSW. And so
So
I'm looking
what
forward to
does
that.
that mean for you? Does that mean you take on more clients or just an
I'm
achievement? What does that mean?
it, the biggest thing about it is being an achievement.
Okay.
Um, but I also getting a full license means a pay raise,
Oh, well,
It's always a plus.
yeah.
and I am part time right now.
Okay.
So, and I've been thinking about the possibility of moving to full time once I get my full license. So, I mean, I could work full time now, but in a way that would be a benefit of the L is to feel more comfortable. I think to be full time.
Okay.
Excellent.
Well, congratulations on that. You'll have to keep us updated on when you hit that and what that turns into for you.
Okay,
But
thank you. I should get it probably by the end of July.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
oh, okay, you sent me the clip, so we'll play that when we get to the show and tell portion of the podcast. So,
Okay.
um,
I was wondering if you were going to do that, if you're going to share your screen or not.
I
I
hope
I'm
am
so.
sure.
when we get to the later questions, and I don't know if it will play the audio as well, but I guess we'll find out.
The visual is probably the biggest part of it, though.
Okay.
People will understand, and if
Yeah.
James Bates somehow watches this, he's going to
Oh,
be like,
we're gonna
"That's
tag him.
that's some good that's some good memories there."
Oh
Yeah,
man.
we'll tag him in it, see if we can get some traction with him. Um, okay, and then just I know I've seen a lot of your work on Facebook, and I guess I should just say social media because I follow you everywhere. But
Uh-huh.
I see that you do a lot of Photoshop. Is that something that you're working towards maybe doing as like a side gig, or is it just something you do for fun?
Right now, it's something I do for fun. I would love to be able to do it professionally. I have done it for people before, and so in a sense, I kind of understand what that's like to do it. But I haven't been able to do it professionally yet, uh, just because of my situation with working as a social worker, and um, I'm kind of limited with my finances and what I
Oh,
can
for sure.
earn, and so my job as a social worker kind of limits that. So right now it's just a hobby. I actually like it as a hobby also, just because I can make what I want and focus on what I want versus uh, like making more. Uh, I don't know what you would call it.
Mission?
Well, like making more corporate type stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Meaning, I mean, I've been working on uh, building my faith the last few years, and so I'm sure that you've seen a lot of the stuff that I post on Twitter has like Jesus and stuff in it, which helps me personally to focus on that. And but I feel like if I was to do it professionally, it'd probably be more secular type stuff.
Right.
Yeah, you'd probably be doing a lot more like banners and whatever for organizations. But
If I could tell you, probably like just a ultimate fantasy for Photoshop would be like a guy like to become. Do you guys know who Boss Logic is?
I do
I
not.
don't think so.
Well,
He's
maybe.
he's a dude on. I follow him on Twitter and Instagram, and he works for movie studios like Marvel and DC and stuff, and so he'll make
Oh
a lot of
yeah.
superhero things.
Oh wow. I'm looking at his Twitter right now. That's pretty crazy stuff.
Honestly, I don't want to sound like arrogant or anything, but I think that I'm capable of doing something to that level
Yeah.
if I had time and resources.
Is that something that you've kind of self-taught, or are you taking courses on that, or how's that come together?
Primarily self-taught.
Okay.
I was on the newspaper staff as a senior in high school, and there was like 2 days or even just one day where they introduced Photoshop to us to teach us about layout of the newspaper.
Uh-huh.
And I gravitated very much to the layout of the newspaper because I could just work with pictures and I didn't have to write stuff. But then it turned out that I was pretty good at it, and and then after that, it's mostly been self-taught. It's just been a hobby I've had over the years, and I actually only picked it up very consistently when I graduated from my master's. Um, and so throughout my undergrad and postgrad, I did it like very intermittently.
Yeah. I don't
Well,
have
you've
the
gotten good
patience
at
to do
it.
Photoshop.
Well, I was just gonna say you've gotten really good at it. Everything I've seen you do is very clean. Everything looks amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
like,
I love seeing those things that you share. I don't always see them, but when I do, I'm pretty impressed with what you've done. And I think the last thing I saw that you posted was actually a commissioned piece. Is that right?
uh, yeah. Well, the one of Jesus hugging the other guy.
I think so. Yeah, that sounds
Yeah,
like
that
the one
was
number.
a commission. My friend um, did a mission for the LES Church, and those missions have what are called presidents that like oversee all of the missionaries in that area. And her mission president recently passed away, and so she wanted me to make that picture to commemorate him and have that memory.
Gotcha.
It's awesome.
That's pretty cool. Um, do you want to go into your past surgeries and all that stuff? Because I know you've had tons of them.
I'm willing to answer any questions you guys have. I'm
Okay.
having fun and I like talking. So to you guys,
We like listening.
but
Yes, we do.
uh,
So I I can't remember what the number was, but tell us what that number is, and then any complications that's caused, and kind of the reasoning behind. I know you already said at the top that you were born with spina bifida, and that's obviously why you've had majority of these surgeries. But go into those, and then we'll talk about any complications or whatever afterwards.
okay. I've had 32 surgeries.
So, okay.
My first surgery was when I was less than a week old, and it's mostly been on my back and my legs, mostly orthopedic stuff. Uh, and it's, largely been helpful. There have been some that have kind of reverted just because I use a wheelchair. I had one called a hamstring lengthening where they just they loosen up my hamstrings so that my legs will straighten. But sitting in a wheelchair, my position is that they're bent anyway, so they shrunk back up and are
Yeah.
pretty tight that way now. And I've had a few surgeries called scar tissue untetherings, which are uh, surgeries to go in and remove scar tissue from around my uh, spinal cord. And I had to have that a few times because it keeps coming back. And that was meant to help me with um, scoliosis, with correcting that, straightening my back out. And then ultimately, I had uh, metal rods put in my back to just keep it straight.
And all these surgeries that you've had, are they pretty much like for your comfort? I mean, obviously the scar tissue one, that's to get it out, but is it because of how you're feeling, or is it because of just maintenance from being in the wheelchair, or I guess what are the majority of those for?
Um, it's a good question. um,
I know they're not
I
just
would say
cutting on you for fun.
no. I would say maintenance probably.
Okay.
I've had a couple surgeries to help correct like pressure wounds from sitting, and
Yeah.
my hip got dislocated just normally, just because that's a thing that happened. I mean, I didn't like injure myself or anything; it just came out.
Yeah.
Um, and so I actually don't have a hip joint on my left side right now. They just cut the ball off of it, the top of
Oh
the
boy.
bone. Yeah. So, um, and then I actually probably couldn't tell you all of the different surgeries that I've had, like
Yeah,
one by
32
one.
of them. It's a
Yeah.
few to keep track of.
Well,
I mean, probably within those 32, though, there was some like dental ones. Um, and I was born cross-eyed, so one of them was a ocular one too,
Yeah.
to correct my cross-eyedness. But
Okay.
I would say most of it either, I mean, probably a combination of maintenance and comfort.
Yeah. So are you still able to hit the swimming pool pretty hard, or
Uh, every summer I do, yeah,
okay,
but um, my pool's outside, so I don't do it in the cooler months.
for sure.
touche.
I should I mean, I'll probably get to it at the end of this month,
Yeah. Do
and then
the
probably go pretty consistent with it until August.
and is that how you're getting most of your cardio, or do you
Um, I do. I use a stationary bike,
okay.
and I just sit at the front of it, so I'm still sitting in my wheelchair and only moving the arms of the stationary bike.
Okay. Yeah, because I know you were quite the swimmer back in our younger days. You could
Yeah,
I mean, I've never been a strong swimmer, but you could do laps around me for sure.
my lungs were a lot stronger when I was younger. Like I
Yeah.
used to be able to swim 2 lengths of the pool with one breath, and I did that one time several years ago and like coughed blood a couple of seconds later. So
Oh, geez.
haven't done that in a while.
Yeah. Okay. So with all the surgeries and everything like that, obviously complications, the wheelchair, and all that. How has that affected what you do? I mean, you've already said that's kind of why you chose the career that you did choose, but how does it affect like what you do day to day, and then on your outlook on life?
Um, well, I'm always looking up to everybody.
I would say that's one of the things that I absolutely love about you is your humor.
For sure.
It's
I gotta
refreshing.
tell you, I gotta tell you also that made me really happy that both of you started smiling at the same time. And that actually is a big thing, Kyle, is humor. So um, I think the thing that has affected my outlook on life and outlook on the chair um, has been faith and belief in God and belief in an afterlife. So I believe that there will be a time that I don't have a disability, and then I can look forward to that, and that that affects my outlook now, in that I believe that there is a reason for my current situation. Um, And I see that a lot with the interactions that I have with other people. Um, like, I mean, just in general, but also in my career, I feel like I mean, I'm a big guy. I'm gonna turn on my camera real quick. Yeah, pretty big shoulders and stuff. I mean, I'm turning the camera off just because I'm laying in bed, and that would be weird for people to look at. But um, generally, I mean, would you say that you were intimidated by my dad, Billy?
Um, no, just because I knew who he was as a person, but definitely the first time I met him, I was, you know, a little hesitant because I think I was
Big boy.
probably 4 foot tall and 80 pounds soaking wet, maybe.
Anyway, this is just a long-winded answer, and I apologize, but I think with my size, if I was, if my height matched it, probably about my dad's height,
Yeah,
people will be a little bit more uncomfortable with me. But I'm sitting down and I'm approaching them from a
Yeah,
lower spot. I feel like I can relate better with people.
for sure.
Um, and particularly, I think I can relate better with people who are going through difficult stuff for themselves and help them to realize if I'm handling it pretty well, they could probably handle what they're going through better.
Yep,
absolutely.
Um, and that's a huge reason why I became a therapist too. Is it's like I want to handle my own situation as well as I can and help others to do that too. Um, because we have a lot more control over our responses than we actually often give ourselves credit for. So,
no, I like that. Kyle,
Yes, sir.
do you want to kick off the sports questions?
Yeah, I mean, you've kind of alluded a little bit to this. Obviously, your dad's a huge part of, I'm sure, how you fell in love with sports. But is there anything else that I guess impacted you or got you hooked on sports?
yeah, it was funny when I first looked at that. I was like, "Do you guys not know the answer to the question?"
Yeah.
um, but growing up, my dad and my brothers all help because I'm the youngest, and the looking up thing was a joke. But I am because I'm the youngest. I have metaphorically looked up to my brothers too, and it was cool to watch them all play sports, and that got me into interested in watching the sports and being involved with it. Obviously, probably the biggest thing was my dad. Um,
Yep,
For sure.
I never actually got to see him play live, um,
me either.
but knowing him, knowing that he played
Yeah.
football, I mean, got me into football um, because he was still into it uh, until he passed away. So, and him being my best friend, uh, I got a lot of the same interests as he did.
For sure. Did him like calling games? Did you often get to travel with him to do that, or
No, he did that himself.
okay?
So our family usually stayed home, and since he primarily did college football, so he was he only had to be gone for like from Thursday to Sunday,
Yeah,
which was nice.
I was just curious if maybe that would have also gotten you more into sports if you got to go along and see the production and all that goes into it. But
There was a few times when he did BYU football games. We got to go because of that, and go into the booth and that kind of a thing. I think on the field stuff interests me more than the technical side of it.
yeah, see, and I would love to do any and all of it,
Yeah.
Agreed.
but So I would definitely eat that up as well, seeing the production side. But with that being said, I assume your dad's also part of the reason why the teams that you do root for. But who are the teams that you root for, and why?
I would say the two primary teams that I root for are BYU football and the Raiders.
Can't imagine why.
Yeah.
There's a common theme there.
Yeah, something that I've noticed about myself growing up is that I get interested in particular players. So sometimes if there is a really good player that I like, I will root for his team to do well so that he, can do well. Like right now, it's all often very related to the other teams or the teams that I do root for, like the Raiders or BYU. Like I don't know if I would consider myself a Saints fan, but I like Taysom Hill, so I want them to do well. And the Jets are bad.
Yes.
True.
But I hope that Zach Wilson succeeds because he's from BYU, which is, that's kind of a thing that I do. But because actually, I wasn't as much of a Raiders fan. And I mean, I grew up watching them, obviously. But I don't think I was invested in until after my dad passed away, actually, because I got connected with like 1,300 people from Raider Nation on Twitter. So, and like I get really into what they're doing. And my oldest brothers, have gotten really into the Raiders as well in the years since my dad passed away. And so, because of them, I'm more invested as well. My brothers actually bought seats at Allegiant.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like they bought the seats, so they have. I mean, not the tickets, but they own real estate in the stadium, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So you're saying I have a hookup?
I would say so. I mean, and they don't go to all of the games.
Well,
But I think because they own the seats, they do have dibs with the tickets.
fantastic. So we'll have to set something up
I
because
love it. Bill's like, all right.
I'm not that far from Vegas,
It's true.
and that is my favorite team since I was
you're closer
watching
than
football.
we are.
Yeah, for sure.
Very, very much so.
Okay, so any players on the Raiders in particular that you follow closely or really like?
Currently,
Yeah, current.
I like Waller.
He's a stud.
Yeah. I feel a little bit envious sometimes because Waller kind of put my dad in second place. But I like him still. And because he's a stud. Like he's very productive and very good. I see a lot of differing sides on Derek Carr.
Oh, for sure.
Like there are Raiders fans that love him and Raiders fans that despise him.
Oh yeah, always.
I think personally, he's a pretty good guy.
Yes, for sure.
Because he's moral and he's got that belief in God.
Family first, all that
Yeah.
good stuff.
Team first. He's a good team player.
Yeah, he's made some bad throws at times. Like at times it feels like he's playing 500 instead of passing it to a teammate. But generally, I like him. So
Yeah,
And
no, those two are definitely two of my favorite that are currently on the team, and it really saddens me. Well, I guess one thing I did want to say about Waller is he honored your dad a few years ago when they did the
Yeah.
throwback jerseys. He wore your dad's uniform,
I saw that. That was pretty cool.
so
Um, it's probably a ways to scroll, um, but if you find it on my Instagram page, um, during the show and tell part of it, I made I made a Photoshop edit of my dad wearing a Waller jersey.
That's
see if I can
awesome.
find it. I'll keep looking while we. Is it on your main one or your art one?
The art one,
Okay,
the art one,
okay.
yeah.
I'll see if I can find it. I was scrolling beforehand, trying to find. I was going through Raiders social media and trying to find that picture of Waller wearing your dad's jersey. I know it was on Twitter, but it was like 2-3 years ago, and they post almost every day. So I
Yeah.
eventually gave up. But let's see if I can find it. You guys
You
keep
can
talking while I
you can
look
keep
here.
asking, and I'm scrolling too. So
Perfect.
if I
I
find it
know
all,
I know one thing. I mean, we got to see. Bill showed me some of that photo album. I got to see some of the people you've met. Um, just curious who I guess your favorite people that you've got to meet over the years. Obviously, with your connection to Raider Nation or however through sports. But who's the top people that you've met?
Do you want me to start the screen share now, and you can just go through those and then talk about it?
uh, if you would like to.
Okay, let's do that. So let me share my screen here. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. So
that's not the
this is
best
the
one.
album. This this was a young
I
Teren.
thought I looked
I
cool,
like
and
it.
then I realized I didn't. So
Oh no, you own it, man. It looks great. I love it.
So we'll just cycle through
I
these
actually
here, and you can talk about them. And then if
I actually lost that trilby on the same trip. So I had it for like 3 days.
Oh, dang.
nice. Okay, let's go to the next one here. So what? I guess where was this, and why were you there?
So well, actually, it goes back to when my dad was uh, playing for the Raiders, that he got invited to a fundraiser for the Cedars-Sinai Hospital in LA. And the function that they have is called the Sports Spectacular. Um, and they fundraise for different um, like neurological diseases or um, like birth defects and stuff like that. And so my dad actually got invited every year since he was a Raider, I think. And but then when I turned 12, it's like 11 or 12, that they invited me to come because he was speaking. And then I developed a relationship with people there. They enjoyed having me there. And so I got invited probably 7 or 8 times after that. 7 or 8 years after that, I mean, which was really cool. Just because I was just a fan there, going around and asking people to sign stuff. But then I realized that taking pictures was better evidence, so
Yeah.
I I did away with the notepad and took some pictures instead. And the stuff that you're going to show is not everything, and unfortunately, I don't think I have all of them, but I will explain a lot. My mom's a super cute lady.
I miss Kathy.
Yeah.
She's obviously a character. You can see where Teren gets
Oh
his
yeah.
sense of humor from. What is this building?
Just some. It looks like I have a motel or a hotel or something on the Strand in LA. I mean,
Okay.
it's no place that we went to. It's just I think my mom thought the architecture was cool.
Okay. Right. And then who do
Uh,
we have here?
that is our longtime family friend, Jose Mendez. He's a huge baseball fan and really loves Roberto Clemente.
Oh, my guy.
Kyle's a Pittsburgh Pirates fan, so
Sweet.
he's heard of that guy before.
Just a little bit.
And then there's you and your dad,
That's
I
awesome.
both looking pretty dapper.
uh, I think it might be in the same one, but I think it might be the next one. Oh no, you laughed at that. You recognize that guy,
Oh, yeah.
Kyle?
Oh, yeah.
He's one of my favorite actors from The
Oh,
Office,
Yeah,
man.
for sure.
yeah. That's not a actor. That's not an athlete. That's Stanley from The
Oh,
Office.
yeah. He's the
Stanley
man.
from The Office.
Leslie David Baker.
My brother-in-laws would be so very jealous right now. They're the biggest Office fans I've ever met.
I can
Yeah,
confirm he never smiled like that in The Office. I've seen it 4
No,
times.
that's true.
yeah. Except for in one of the greatest bloopers of all time. Have you guys seen that blooper when, well, actually in the episode when uh, Michael's going off to, he's thinking he's going to New York to party with Ryan for the
Oh, yeah.
website opening. He comes
Uh,
out and he comes out and he's like, "I have some good news," and Stanley just goes, "We get to go home."
yeah.
In the
I
episode, he does
forgot
that.
about that.
In the episode, he does that. But one of the greatest bloopers ever is he when Michael comes out, he's like, "I have some good news." He throws his hands up and goes, "We get to go home!"
Yeah.
And because it was so out of character, everybody in the room just died laughing. And it's
Yeah,
always fun to watch that.
I
that's
love it.
interesting. Seeing him smiling when you know him as the grumpy curmudgeon.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
All right,
actually a pretty cool guy.
I'm sure. Who do we
I'm
have
not
here?
I'm not entirely sure who the girls are, but that's Kevin Love.
Oh, okay. That's a young Kevin Love.
Yep.
I didn't
That
even
was that
recognize
was
him.
like when he was drafted, I think.
Wow,
Yeah.
very young.
Okay.
Warren Sapp, I think.
Oh, yeah.
That's see, I couldn't place him. I was like, I know that guy, but I can't think of who he is. Yeah, it's Warren
Wait,
Sapp.
no, that's not Warren Sapp. I don't think.
Is it not? It
It's
looks
gotta
like him.
be. Looks just like him. That's who I thought it was immediately when I seen it the first time.
Oh, maybe it is.
I think it is.
When I
Obviously, one of the best
in
defensive linemen of all time.
yeah
Not my favorite Raider.
in subsequent things that I had put captions on them, but I don't think I did it on that one.
Fair enough.
But my bad.
And then who do we have here?
When I was going through the sports spectacular with my dad, he introduced me to a lot of people that he knew from his day who are
Mhm.
famous from when he was younger. And the man there in that picture, I think, is a famous Olympian. He might be a famous Olympian. I'm not sure. I don't remember. The lady is his wife.
Okay. It's not who I thought it was then. All right, and who do we have here?
The daughter of the greatest boxer of all time.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Layla Ali, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Pretty
That's
sure.
impressive.
Nastia Lukin. She was a ice skater in the Olympics.
Yep.
Oh, man. My wife absolutely adored her.
And then
Oh, who's
my
this guy?
favorite. My
Oh,
favorite offensive player of all time for the Raiders, and that is the one, the only Tim Brown. This is my favorite picture that you sent through, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Wait,
It's a good one.
Did you get actually? Let's go back to Tim. Did you get some decent FaceTime with him, or
Uh,
Just a picture and
I don't
see you.
remember.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was mostly just a picture and like, hi, how are you doing, and things like that. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Because there, if you, I mean, as you can see in the background, there's a lot of people in that room, and including a lot of kids that were going around and trying to do the same thing as I was doing. So the celebrities didn't have a whole lot of time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. I think his rookie year was your dad's last year. Is that correct?
I think so.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because he was a rookie for the Raiders in '89, and I think that was your dad's last year playing for the Raiders.
Yeah,
So pretty cool. And then who do we have here?
he's a basketball player.
Nailed it. I couldn't remember who, but I said I
I
know he's a basketball player, but I can't think of his name.
I feel bad about not remembering names, and that might not be the greatest picture of him. So if you want to go to the next one and see if I can remember. Oh, that in all of the albums that I sent you, that it was consistently my favorite one. She is a broadcaster in LA. Her name is Jamie Maggio,
Oh, okay.
and she became my best friend at the Sports Spectacular, and I like Beeline to hang out with her every year that I was there.
That's awesome.
And often, I mean, because she works for them, and was part of the function and stuff, and so she I got to spend a lot more time with her and became friends with her.
Yeah, I think I've seen some of her tweets on Twitter covering the Dodgers, maybe. But all right, and then we already know who these two are. Is this just a random guy or? Hey, Aaron, you
Did
still
you
there?
lose him?
Hope we didn't lose him, but I don't hear him. Trying to think. We might have lost Teren.
Oh man.
Okay, well, let's just go through these last couple. I don't know who any of these people are, so. And then there was the one message. Let's see. Here's the Photoshop that Teren did of his dad in a Waller jersey.
That's
If I can
awesome.
zoom that in. Yeah, there we go. There he is. Can you hear us? I don't think your mic's working for some reason.
There we go.
Maybe. Can you hear him, Kyle?
Nope.
No, me either. Okay, so zoom out there. And then there was one more message I wanted to show, and that was the one of James carrying Todd, the commercial he was talking about. And hopefully, oh, he's back. Okay, try it now.
I'm here. Is
There
it
we
There
working?
you go.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay, I just refreshed the page.
Okay.
Sorry about
So
that.
No,
I was
you're
just
all
going to show this commercial real quick of James carrying Todd.
Oh boy.
right. Oh man, that is so funny.
It's the most uncomfortable commercial ever.
I just yeah.
That's good. Did the audio come through for you guys?
No,
Okay.
that
It's
was
probably better,
absolutely
though.
amazing.
That's
Oh
hilarious.
man,
And then I did just want to show a couple clips from your dad's highlight film here.
Okay.
Let's see.
My brother actually compiled that video.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
perfect. Hopefully he doesn't mind me showing it on the podcast.
I don't think so, because it's just my dad.
You getting fired up? Let's see some highlights here. Beautiful.
A little bit later in the video is my favorite highlight ever of my dad. It was actually a pass from Mark Wilson.
Tell me when you see it, and I'll
against the
skip
Chargers.
ahead. Chargers might be this one then. Right
No.
here?
No, it was from Mark Wilson.
Oh wow.
Trying to find any Chargers.
You know what? It might. Wait. I think you just passed it. It's a little.
This one?
No, that's a great one though.
It's just crazy seeing passes like this back in
ahead
the day.
Of his time for sure. I always love watching these.
Look at that.
I mean, he
toe
literally
tap
is
and everything.
what every team is asking
think
their
I
tight
was-
end to do nowadays.
Oh, it's
Love
that
it.
one. That wasn't the Chargers. It's the
Oh,
Rams.
there it is.
That's my favorite
That's a
highlight
good
ever.
catch.
Can you go back to that one?
Too far or not far enough?
It's
A
coming.
little too far. It's probably after this one. No, it's after this one. No.
It's Broncos.
It's all right, we're getting there.
Here we go.
Yeah, that one.
What a good catch.
That catch is so cool just because of how much concentration he had with it.
For sure. And like you said, this was obviously back before passing was the thing in the NFL. And that's one thing that's always struck me with Al Davis is how he brought and now basically the NFL is what Al Davis said it was going to be all those years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing your dad do that, but Kyle's got to jump off. So Kyle, thanks for joining us.
Teren, it was awesome to talk to you again, man. It's always a pleasure. I can't wait to have you back on again. Sorry, I got to bail a little early, but
that's okay. I didn't answer your question though because I kind of messed things up. But
that's all right.
I don't know if people would like this, but it's because like Raiders fans would like this, but it's because of the profile of this guy. I think my favorite the favorite person that I've met was Jerry Rice.
Okay.
I met him a couple of times. And one of my favorite memories from the Sports Spectacular was that Jerry Rice told me that my dad had the best hands in the league.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And we actually have a card. We actually have a card, a football card with my dad and Jerry Rice on it. And he actually has better stats that year because they both led their conference in receiving, but my dad led the league.
Yeah, that's one that I still want to get my hands on.
I think we looked that up last time. That was really cool.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I got to take off, but you guys, I don't know if you're going to keep going, finish up, Bill, but it's good talking to you, man. Can't wait till next time.
Yeah, we'll finish up. Thanks for jumping on, Kyle.
See you, Bill.
See you.
All right, so just a couple more questions we had for you.
Okay.
So you said the coolest athlete that you've ever met is Jerry Rice, and I think it's tough to argue that, but specifically for Raider Nation, I wanted to ask, did you ever meet Tom Flores, and did your dad ever talk about playing for him since they won, 2 Super Bowls together?
Yeah. I believe I did meet Tom Flores once, and my dad did call him coach, throughout that conversation, and that was at the Sports Spectacular also. My dad did talk about um, his playing days a lot, but I don't remember him talking specifically about like his relationship with Flores or anything. When I met him and my dad and him were talking, it seemed like that they had amicable, you know, relationship. He enjoyed playing for him, and I'm guessing Kyle will probably see this even though he's gone. Um, but to answer the question of favorite Raider, um, I met Marcus Allen
Yeah.
and Mike Davis. Mike Davis was there pretty consistently, and I probably met him four or five times, and he was always very nice to me. And so I liked meeting him, hanging out with him. But I did meet Marcus. That was pretty cool. And I
Yeah.
met Howie
I was
also.
going to ask if you'd ever met Howie because he's probably one of my favorite Raiders of all time. Uh, and his son Chris Long has a podcast that I absolutely love listening to. So it's
That's
good to
cool.
hear that you did meet him. And he was it him? I want to say it was your dad, Marcus Allen, and Howie on a poster.
Yeah, it was in the cover of a magazine.
Yeah, that's what it was. Sports Illustrated, I
Or,
think.
no, it just was called Sport.
Huh. Okay.
It must be a defunct one now, but we have that picture up
In the
uh,
weight room, right?
up upstairs
Oh, okay.
in our house.
Yeah, no, that was one. Like all these things seeing that I remember, and then I remember there was one of your dad on like a dollar bill or something.
That one was me. Well,
Yeah,
no, actually, no. There was an actual poster from the Costacos brothers that they made an "In Todd We Trust" kind of a dollar bill themed poster, which was pretty sweet.
yeah. No, I would love to like stumble across one of those in a pawn shop or something
Yeah,
and pick them up because like I definitely remember seeing them around your house and whatever and they just for whatever reason they've always been something that I'm like if I ever come across that I got to get one. So
yeah, it's a cool poster.
for sure. And then the last question I had for you, and obviously the floor is yours. So if anything else comes up that you wanted to talk about that we didn't cover, you have the floor. But has your relationship with sports changed since your dad passed? I know you said you followed the Raiders more, but has it made you grow more accustomed to watching sports, or have you distanced yourself, or how has that worked?
Um, I actually watched less
Okay.
than when my dad was around. When my dad was alive, like ESPN was on all the time.
Yeah.
Uh, and I don't know. We still watch football pretty regularly, um, and especially like BYU. But we watch the NFL fairly regularly too. Um, but in terms of any of the other sports like basketball or baseball, I rarely watch that other than like highlights and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but my dad was big into those, and so when he was around, we would watch more baseball and basketball games. Um, we still are. I still watch plenty of it, and I think it's cool, and I like it, and it's my favorite sport still. Football is my favorite sport. Um, but I kind of because it reminds me of my dad, it has less of an appeal.
Yeah.
Uh, One of my favorite things to do was on Sunday evenings. He and I would go over the scores, like the box scores together, because we don't typically watch football, watch TV just in general on Sundays. and or at least we didn't. Um, and so he wouldn't know about the games. I wouldn't know about the games, and I would sit with my laptop, and we would just go over. Or I mean, I would ask him the matchups. I'd be like, Patriots versus the Bengals or something like that. And he, like more often than not, would be able to guess who won the games and sometimes even like the score, which is pretty cool. Um, and so it's become more of just a hobby, I guess,
Yeah,
since he passed away, than something that I'm like diehard about.
for sure. I figured that maybe a lot of the times, even for people that don't have a famous athlete dad, that the dad's typically what introduces them to sports, and then what you'll see is a lot of times when they're no longer here, maybe it's not as meaningful to you. So I figured that might be the case. But it sounds like at least you follow the teams a little bit closer, especially the Raiders,
Mm.
since he has passed. So, is there anything that we should have asked that we didn't ask that you wanted to talk about, or
Um,
anything came up while we were talking?
I feel like that I messed up a little bit to have that little bit of a glitch. Were there any other pictures that you wanted to go through?
I showed the one of your dad that you photoshopped in a Waller jersey,
Oh
and
yeah.
then I went through the rest of those pictures. I don't know who some of them were,
Okay.
so
And I felt bad that I didn't know who some of them were either,
no, that's fine. I mean,
even though
it's
yeah,
been a while. I mean, those
that's true.
pictures look like they're from what,
Probably
12
like
years
10
ago,
years
maybe?
ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me pull up, I'll pull up the last couple here that we didn't get to. Let's see. So this is the one, sharing it now. There we go. This is the one we ended on. And I said, obviously, we know who these two are, but I didn't recognize this guy. Do you know who that was?
Uh, I don't remember who he was. I believe he's a friend of Jamie's.
Okay. And then this is Charlie Villanueva, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's a basketball player. I don't know who this guy is. Feel like I should, but any
Huh.
idea there?
I feel like I should know who that is too. Um, but I'm not entirely sure at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, he looks super familiar, but I'm not placing him off the top of my head. So that's fine. Those were the only two that I think we showed that you weren't on when we showed them. So
Okay.
was there anything else that you wanted to cover?
Um, things going good for you?
Yeah, things are going good. Got the three boys that are just growing like weeds and soccer every weekend and all that fun stuff. So they keep us busy and just keep on plugging along, I guess.
Good. That's good.
But
Um, anything else that you would like to ask me?
I think that's all that we had. Obviously, this probably won't be the last time you're on, so I'm
I'd
sure
love to. I love
if we think
talking to
of
you
more,
guys.
yeah, no, it's great. Especially like being adults and having jobs and all that stuff. We don't always get to keep up like we'd like to. So any excuse like this where we can just hop on and talk sports or whatever life, it's a
Yeah.
great opportunity to catch up. So definitely appreciate you coming on, and like I said, we'll have you on again at some point. Hopefully, one of these times it'll be to announce some exciting news about your dad joining the Hall of Fame.
Oh,
But
I would love that so much. Um, Like, do you know Kenny King Jr.?
Yes.
He tweeted it today. I mean, just recently. Like, do you know Jimmy James? He's the dude. He posts a lot of Raiders art. It's like a cool stylized like painting
I think I've seen
style.
some of his work, but I don't recognize the name.
Well, he just posted a clip of my dad from America's Game about gratitude, talking about gratitude, and about how his dad taught him that he needed to be grateful for the situation that he's in. And obviously, winning the Super Bowl is kind of a huge thing that you need to be grateful for. And so he's talking about uh, praying to God. And there's a clip of him kneeling on the field, kind of doing a Tebow thing before Tebow. Um, but Kenny responded to that, and I thought that it was just really nice, saying that my dad was a great human, and I can't wait for him to take his place in the hall.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was cool for a fellow son of an athlete to say that, and I
Yeah.
think it's cool. I like one of the things that I love about Raider Nation is how uh, passionate they are. Like outside of that, I feel like my dad's largely obscure, um, or less important, but he's still important to me. Um, and it's still hard to have him gone. And so having people that are still like huge fans of my dad uh, is fun for me. And them wanting to see him in the Hall of Fame as much as I do is
Yep.
pretty cool.
Well, and obviously, those people that actually got to watch him play are older than us. I mean, my dad was a huge fan of your dad. And when he got to meet him, I think he kind of fanboyed a little bit, but it obviously was pretty cool to that he even knew who your dad was. Obviously, when your dad said he played for the Raiders, I was like, that's fantastic. But I didn't know who he was from his playing days.
Do you still
But
have
yeah,
that picture that you sent me on Messenger
yeah,
a few years ago?
I've got it in my office to the right
The
of me. So
the picture of you and me in the Cordell Stewart jersey, and
yep,
my dad and your dad.
yeah, and I think I was wearing a Napoleon Kaufman jersey if I remember right. But
Yeah,
yeah, no, that's
I always thought your dad was cool too.
my dad
By
is
the
cool,
way,
but
yeah, yeah,
yeah, I mean, like I said, your dad was larger than life. I mean,
yeah,
my dad was probably a full foot shorter than your dad, but no, it, it was awesome, and that's one great thing about Raider Nation is it's very passionate, but it's the saying goes, once a Raider, always a Raider, and that's 100% true from top to bottom in the organization. They do that the annual alumni dinners and all that thing, all those things that you don't see most teams doing that. So I'm hopeful very much so that, especially with the senior committee getting in Cliff Branch last year, and then or this upcoming year, and Tom Flores last year, that we'll start to see some of the Raiders legends that have been passed over for the Hall of Fame starting to get in, and
that'd
and
be
I
so
think your
cool.
dad is very deserving, especially for the length of his career and the stats that he was able to put up in that time. I mean, like I said, he was putting up modern tight end numbers back in the day when passing wasn't the go to, and
Yeah,
with less than stellar quarterback play. So one day we'll get to share that news on here and get
that'd be
to
cool.
celebrate with you guys, and hopefully wherever that is, hopefully it'll be in Vegas, and then I can just come down and
Yeah,
celebrate with you and your family.
if we get the call, I'll be sure to let you know.
That would be fantastic. So, again, Teren, we appreciate you spending your time and being so gracious with it. One thing I think I should probably say, and that is to keep up with the great late Willie Brown. All of you sons, hug your mom, tell her happy Mother's Day.
Okay,
And again, thank you, Teren. we'll catch up with you soon.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Yep, it's always a pleasure to have you.